It's touched everybody's here's lives, whether they were born or not, and it shows by the young people turning up here today to support and remember our hunger strikers. This event that came about after special category status was took away from Republican prisoners on the 1st of March 1976, and through prison struggle on the blanket and then the Vote No Wash protest, the hunger strikes came about. The hunger strike of 1980, which the prisoners thought they had a settlement, and then the Brits reneged, and then the hunger strikes of 1981, where 10 brave men died. We will honour them every year. We will commemorate them. They're our heroes, and it's right to commemorate our hunger strikers. I'm now going to introduce our main speaker. He's a man, a lifelong Republican, who in total spent about 19 years in jail after being interned, remanded and then sentenced. He's a man who himself was on hunger strike for 53 days in 1980. And when he came out of the jail, he could have been forgiven for thinking he'd played his part and settling down and retiring, but he didn't. He came back right into the Republican struggle, and he's now an MLA for Derry, a city that he loves, and he's a staunch Republican. I'd like you to give a big Glasgow welcome for Raisin McCartney.
Remain by August, Franny, when I was coming up that hill I felt I nearly could retire now. I don't know about all those years ago, but I could have retired there. But dus, while Iraq will Ahas and Doan Orm go will me Arasha Rish, it's here Alban, Talmadge and Shaw and New Lakelia, Hun Kidney a Horch, Erna, Jager, Public Tanny, a Fair Bass, Stock Ogres, Sakesh, Fada, Sablain, Arcade, Octo Ahem. First of all, I would like to say it's a great honour and indeed a privilege to be back here among Republicans here in Scotland. It's a great honour to be asked to come here and say a few words on this, the 35th anniversary of the 1981 hunger strike. We come here today to stand together to remember and honour the memory of Bobby Sands, Francis Hughes, Patsy O'Hara, Raymond McCreish, Joe McDonald, Martin Hurston, Kevin Lynch, Kieran Doherty, Thomas McElwee and Michael Devine. And as we do so, Frank Stagg and Michael Gotham are also very much in our minds. I want to extend solidarity and greetings to the family and friends and the comrades of the hunger strikers. Absolutely no doubt when the families hear and see the type of demonstration which we have here today, then I have absolutely no doubt they find it very rewarding and very uplifting as they carry on the grief and the pain and the loss of their loved ones. On the 1st of March 1976, the British government believed that they could deny Republican prisoners their right to be political prisoners. Almost by instinct, we as Republican prisoners pledged that we would do all in our power to ensure that we as prisoners and our struggle would never, ever, ever be criminalised. That was the focus of our attention for the next 5 years, be it in Long Kesh, be it in Armagh Women's Prison or the Crumlin Road Jail. And by the 2nd of October 1981, when the hunger strike ended, Long Kesh and Armagh Women's Prison were synonymous with resistance and political imprisonment throughout the world. The policy of criminalisation lay in tatters. It came to us at a great cost because we lost 10 of our bravest and finest comrades. But that was the essence and that was a necessary part of the prison struggle, because we believed and we knew that we were political prisoners, and no one, no government or no power was ever going to treat us as criminals. We were political prisoners, each and every one of us. In 2006, I had the great honour to speak at the Hunger Strike Memorial in Havana. Not far from that memorial is a billboard, and on it is a slogan which is designed to inspire Cubans into activism. At that time I was very struck by the simplicity of the words, but the poignancy and indeed the intent of those words. It read, "Walkers, there are no paths. Paths are made by walking. Start walking." And that is the essence of struggle. That is the essence of the struggle of which we are involved in. There is no path. There is no pathway to freedom. The pathway to freedom is designed, carved out and carried out by the actions of individual people. That is why we are here today, to remember the individual actions of the 10 men who died on hunger strike. And none of us should ever forget that. And always remember that it is said, and it's very true, that even the longest of journeys begins with a single step. Each person who walks along the path, each of them, all of them together, ensure that the revolutionary goals which we set ourselves, the reunification of our country, is the task on which we are all participants, and of all we which pledge that we will continue until it is delivered. So many times in many freedom struggles throughout the world, people often ask, why are individuals stepping forward? Why do people put themselves into places of danger? Indeed, people would have asked, why did a young Nelson Mandela, in the aftermath of the Sharpeville massacre, burn his passbook? What was it that drove Rosa Parks not to go to the back of the bus? No doubt they were overcome with the human frailties of fear and apprehension, but they were also full of and proud of the fact of who they were, and they had that great commitment and that great courage to step forward. So in 1976, when Keir Nugent said, "I will not wear that prison uniform," it was in an atmosphere, in a room engulfed with intimidation and brutality. But he knew what needed to be done, and he knew that he was the person that was going to do it. And on this year, particularly in the centenary of the 1916 Rising, as we all have throughout Ireland and beyond, have ensured that the memory and the sacrifice of the men and women of 1916 was truly honoured. Always remember that they marched into the GPO to realise the dream, the intentions, and if you like, the delivery of the proclamation of 1916. That is our Freedom Charter. And when Franny was talking about the impact of the 1981 hunger strike, for many, the 1981 hunger strike was their 1916. It was their 1969. It was their Bloody Sunday. It made people stand up and realise that much had to be done, that we could never ever allow our prisoners to be criminalised, and more importantly, we could never allow the integrity of our struggle to be undermined. So each time that we come together, each time that we set ourselves tasks, of course we are mindful of the sacrifice of the hunger strikers. We are also mindful of the sacrifice of our patriot dead and the men and women of 1916 in this particular year. So perhaps when we ask why, what was it that gave Mandela, Rosa Parks, what gave Keir Nugent that inner resolve to do what needed to be done, then I find that we all will find it in the words of Bobby Sands. Because when Bobby Sands wrote, I don't think that he wrote for himself, he wrote for history. He wrote that each and every person who would read what he had written would understand, that they would all understand what was it that allowed himself, Patsy, Raymond, Francis, Joe, Martin, Kevin, Kieran, Thomas and Michael to step forward and face the kind of death which they faced. And he immortalised it in these words: "It lights the dark of this prison cell. It thunders forth its might. It is that undauntable thought, my friend, the thought that says I'm right." So when we rightly look back, and cherish the memory of the hunger strikers and our patriot dead, and perhaps wonder why, and as we look forward at the many challenges that we face, and perhaps ask how, be inspired by the words of Bobby Sands. Be emboldened by the words of Bobby Sands. Stand strong, stand together, and we will deliver each and every task which we set ourselves. And in particular, we will set ourselves the task of the reunification of our country, so that we can live in an Ireland as envisaged by the proclamation. So as we leave here today, I want to thank you once again. I want to send my solidarity to Tom Malarkey. I'm sure we all seen him up the hill there, and I hope that he's well. But that's the type of spirit, that's the type of commitment that many of us bring to each and everything we do. So as we leave here today, be emboldened, be strong, and always remember, again in the words of Bobby Sands, when our work is done, then it is then we will see the rising of the moon. Go roll, Mila Mayoga.